from England. So people will be straggling in just like real life.
Yeah.
Hi, Helen.
Hi there.
Hi. Yeah, we're just going to get going. So good timing. Just a couple of housekeeping things. I am recording the Zoom call. It's only for the people who can't be on the Zoom call. I'll be sharing a link with everyone who signed up for the course, and it will be posted privately. So, and the other thing is to keep yourself muted if you're not speaking, and to just kind of relax and enjoy the day. I want to make sure everybody got their handout for the week. We were all able to log in and get that. Good. All right. And I was saying that a few of the people on the course were my mentors in my saging certification that I did last year. And Jean and Nancy was my mentor, and Jean was my teacher. So, and I learned so much through those women. So I'm happy they're on this call today. And I'm starting with a practice that I learned in saging, and that is to just start by taking some breaths to get us grounded and focused and centered. So some of you are at the end of your day, and some of you are at the very beginning of your day. And I think most of us are somewhere in the middle of our day. So there's lots going on. So I'm just letting one other person join us before I start, so she's not joining mid-breath. Hi, Sarah. We're just going to start with some breaths now. So what I invite you to do is to just get comfortable. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze, whatever feels best for you. And I'm just going to ask you to take a few breaths together with me. So the first breath, I just invite you to take in a deep breath and just let go of what's been happening in your life today that might be distracting, and just come into this call. And then take another deep breath to be present. And then one breath to welcome the wisdom available through the tradition of Advent. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and return to the call. It's so nice to see everybody. I just, I'm tickled pink. I wanted to start with a reading, and I was looking for some Christmas readings. And, you know, because everybody's in a different place, I wasn't sure what to select. And so one of my favorite ways to start is with a blessing. So I've chosen John O'Donohue, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And I chose a blessing out of this book that might feel a little bit weird. It's called For Work. And I want you to think about the work of Christmas and the work of Advent when I read it. So it's not specifically for Advent, but just think about that as I read these words to you. May the light of your soul bless your work with love and warmth of heart. May you see in what you do the beauty of your soul. May the sacredness of your work bring light and renewal to those who work with you and to those who see and receive your work. May your work never exhaust you. May it release well springs of refreshment, inspiration, and excitement. May you never become lost in bland absences. May the day never burden. May dawn find hope in your heart, approaching your new day with dreams, possibilities, and promises. May evening find you gracious and fulfilled. May you go into the night blessed, sheltered, and protected. May your soul calm, console, and renew you. I love those words, and I think they apply to what we were thinking about when we think about Advent. And you've already kind of made this start just by signing up for the course, and thank you for signing up. And I think that what you've done is you've identified that maybe there's a gap between what you'd like this time of year to be like and what it actually is like. And I know that for me, I often find that's the reality of this time of year. And I also want to recognize that I know some of you are going through a lot of grief right now. I've got, I don't know all of you, and I don't know all of your stories in your current reality, but a few I know have had recent losses, and that creates a definite a gap this year for you. That sense of things are not the way that they've been in the past, and I just want you to know that I'm thinking of you in your grief as well, and in this time of loss. So one of the things I think is great to do from a learning perspective is always to think about that gap, and what do you want Christmas to be like, and what is your ideal, and then think about where you are and how you can bridge those gaps, so how you can get from where you are to where you want to be. So yesterday when I was driving around, I was thinking about how I often feel very overwhelmed, and I don't want to look at Sarah because her and I walk almost every day. Well, she lives in PEI, but we talk and walk together, even though we're not physically together. And she hears my overwhelmed stories all the time. And but I was thinking, when I feel overwhelmed, I usually think of what I need to cut out of my life. And that's sort of the thing. Like I've got too many things I'm doing, too many gifts I'm buying, too many events I'm going to, too many people I want to see. And they all feel very important. And I don't know where to make adjustments in my life. And I was thinking about that, because when we're in families and communities, we can't just have the exact schedule and life that we want. We're always working within our constraints and those realities of other people and their expectations as well, and trying to find compromise. So one of the things I do think is to think about, and this isn't in your handouts, but I want to give you a minute or two to just hopefully you have a piece of paper, or you can just think in your head, is what is missing for you? Like, what is the thing that you feel is the gap, or the biggest gap, between your desired experience of the season and your actual experience of the season? Hi, Lacey. We're just taking a minute to reflect on our experience of Christmas and what we feel is missing from where we are and what we'd like it to be. Does anybody want to, just one or two people or two or three people like to share something that they feel is missing for them? No pressure. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I'll take a turn if that's all right.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Sandy?
Yes, I can, Nancy.
Okay. I think there's kind of two things. Mostly my need for some quiet time, for some just quiet, just a bit of silence. And the other one is the biggest gap is the first thing I wrote was that the use of my time. I find myself, distracted and doing other things rather than focusing on what I want to be doing.
That's a big one for me too. Jean?
Yes, thank you. I moved to the mountains of North Carolina about 6 years ago. And I'm nowhere near my family or near family. And with the pandemic and being in a new place, I'm just starting to make connections with my family here. And the other thing that is missing is tradition. When I moved here, I moved in with my partner, Bill. And I guess because of the pandemic, we haven't really established, we have semi-traditions, but it's not like after living in a place for 30, 40 years and then coming to a new place with a new person and a new life. We're still, it's becoming. It's not there yet, but it's becoming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy, I'm noticing the change in traditions, the traditions that were always important, with a growing family. And once they leave and are on their own, I'm very distracted by finding my place and respecting my place also. So I gave it one word, was focus for me on change of traditions and accepting what they are with some joy and not being resentful that things have to change.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate what you have to say. I think it's a worthwhile exercise to actually try to identify what's the gaps are for us, because sometimes we just have this vague idea that it's not quite what we want, but we don't really know what is missing, or, we can't really get there to where we want to be. I tend to have a pretty romantic idea of what the perfect Christmas would be like, and it often falls short. And I wanted to share a little bit about my Advent journey with you, because I feel like that's a practice that helps me to keep out of that, Hallmark, Disney movie, TV idea of what the holidays will be like. So my husband doesn't own a Christmas tree farm, and I didn't meet him after I left the big city. So I just, it's not quite that way. We're not out in our sleigh after this call. When my kids were young, we had a lot of traditions, and a few of you mentioned tradition. We always had an Advent wreath in our house, and on Sunday, I always invited a family over for a dinner, and we lit the Advent wreath together. So my husband was a minister, and so we were very involved in our faith community. And we usually, would light the candle, read some scripture or some kind of reading, and it was quite lovely. And we had an Advent wreath at church. So that was kind of my experience with Advent. It was very, very much based in this lighting of a candle. And the 4 weeks before Christmas, the 4 Sundays before Christmas. And so I was surprised many years later, long after I had left the church and my children had grown, that I was looking for something with a little bit more structure and looking for just what did my faith and my spirituality look like at that stage when I didn't have these external structures kind of in place. And so I started really looking at the rhythms of the year. So, solstice, different cycles in the natural world, and exploring Celtic spirituality and Celtic Christianity. And I kind of found myself looking at Advent again and those themes of hope, peace, joy, and love, and what it would look like to pick that up again at this time. And was there still value in it for me? And was I trying to hold on to something? Or, all those things that you kind of ask yourself when you're coming back to something from a different place in your life. And so I started doing a little bit of digging on Advent. I thought I'd give you some background on it. I know some of you probably have a much your own perspective in your own religious traditions that you understand Advent through. But some of the things that I learned was that it's been around since like the 500s. So it's been around for quite a while, but it was always intended to be more of a time of fasting and not celebration. So it was something that monks were ordered to do leading up to Christmas. And I just learned this year, but traditionally Advent was 40 days. Did everybody know that except me? I had no idea. That was new to me. Jean, I'm thinking you might have known. I don't know, but it mirrored Lent. Actually, it was sort of the Advent, and then there was Lent, and they were both 40 days. And so it started in a lot of Orthodox churches around November 15th. And also in Celtic Christianity, it starts on November 15th. And in those churches that celebrate Christmas on January 7th, it starts a little bit later, around November 24th or 25th. So anyway, it was a time of fasting and about 7 weeks before Christmas. So flash forward to 2023. I'm not sure how many people here associate fasting and Christmas, but for me, it's more about like, how can I stop overindulging at Christmas? Like all the food, all the drinks, all the gifts, all the, it's like the exact opposite of fasting. So in my life and in anything I've seen, even in my experience in church, it was about having people over to feed and to feast, not to fast and light a candle. So I just thought it was really interesting to think about the history of Advent, and also I think that helps me really feel okay about letting myself redefine it now, because it's changed a lot since it started, and I feel like it's maybe it's time to revisit it again. So in early November, I was feeling very just heavy about things that were going on in the world. The Hamas attack on Israel, the counterattack there. I don't need to get into that with you. It's been dominating the world. I have Jewish family, and they've just been distraught on every level about this, and is a very complicated, complex situation. And there was so much hatred and anger online, and I just felt like it was a lot. And I woke up one day and I thought, I really need Advent this year. Like I need this practice in my life, and I need to invite other people to join me in it. And so I started, and aside from the political and the wars and everything going on, a lot of people I know are going through financial hard times as well. We're on the verge of a global recession, and there are a lot of people struggling financially, and it's just not an easy Christmas for a lot of people. And I think a lot of you know, people who've had to renew their mortgages this year, it's not a nice time out to, you know, and so I have I started thinking about it, and of course, and I have I don't know if anybody here has read Active Hope by Joanne Macy. It's has anybody read it? It's a really good book. It's about how to face the mess we're in with unexpected resilience and creative power. Now, it's mostly about the environment and on the work that people are doing around climate change, but it's about, well, here's the back. The challenges we face can be difficult to think about: climate change, war, political polarization, economic upheaval, and the dying back of nature. And so this is, it's been out for over 10 years, this book, maybe longer. But she has something in here that I can see if I can pull it up and share it with you. Here we go. And she calls it the 3 stories that we live in. And if you know me, all of you know me somewhat, you know, I make big leaps, or I leap things and I connect things. So when I read this, of course, I was looking at it as Advent, but the 3 stories that we live in are business as usual. And that's, you know, the story that a lot of us want to live in. And I think it's the story that we're encouraged to live in, that life is the same, you know, after the pandemic, it's going to go back to business as usual. And we really want it to be as usual. We want things to stay in this place. And then the other story that we experience is the great unraveling. And, you know, the great unraveling is that time when we feel very overwhelmed. We're aware of the mess we're in, the mess the world is in, and it can feel very dark. But she writes that there's a 3rd story, and it's called The Great Turning. And that's when we step out of our unraveling and our story of business as usual and look at the place that we have in the world and how we can be catalysts for change, or how we can bring hope into the world and what we can do. And I find it very, it's an interesting book, and it's an interesting look at hope. And I think that idea for Advent for me is very similar, that, you know, it's about the great turning, and that we can step out of the unraveling, and we can step out of business as usual, and we can step into a place of bringing hope, peace, love, and joy to the world. So for me, that is a really great way to enter into that 3rd story in our lives. So that's what we're going to do this month. We're going to take some time, and because I've spent my life in adult education, I was a little bit concerned about just putting an email course together and sending you a handout without having at least one Zoom call to talk about how you're going to make that happen in your life. And maybe, you know, if we come back together again at the end, that might be an interesting thing to do, to just kind of debrief and talk about how it went. I haven't planned that, so we'll see how it unrolls, but that's what today is all about. So everybody should have got a link to this week's PDF, and hopefully you didn't go, oh my gosh, Sandy, like that's like a lot. How am I going to do that this week? And now you've just added a whole other layer onto my week, and I don't know how I'm going to possibly do it. I just want you to know I really cut this down from like about 15 or 20 pages. I was going to have you watch movies and listen to stuff, and then I thought I just want to make this more of a reflective process for you. So I'm going to walk through the handout, and then we'll have a Q&A, and we can just kind of brainstorm and talk a little bit about how you might make this work happen for you in your life, how you can make things work. And if you have any questions or thoughts or resources that you think might be of interest, we'll have lots of time for that conversation. So in the handout, you're going to get one every week, very similar, and they're going to have similar elements in it. Oh, somebody wants to join. Let's see who this is. It just says Zoom user. Oh, hello. So the handout is, you're going to start off with, well, first of all, I want to tell you, you don't have to follow it day by day. I put it into days. So if that works for you, and if you're the kind of person who would like to break it out and tackle it day by day, you can do that. I do suggest that you start with day one, because I always think it's good to start with your own thinking on a topic before you kind of bring in someone else's topic. So the first day is to really explore what your own thoughts are about hope. And there's some instructions there to get you started on thinking about hope. And in the second week, it'll be peace. So this will be fairly similar and consistent. And part of that is as well, I really believe when you are doing a longer course and it follows a similar format, it helps you to get into the rhythm with the course as well and with the work. So there's a bit of intention on that. And then every week there's going to be a ritual. So this week, for those of you who are longing for a little bit of quiet and solitude, this ritual is a great thing to do. It's just sitting on your own in the dark and then lighting a candle. And there's a real space there for you to have some time to reflect on hope in your own life. And then the third day is some of my thoughts and reading that I've done on the topic of hope. So just to give you some additional thinking and to fill in some other thoughts for you. And then we have reflections on hope. So a journal activity there for you to spend some time just reflecting on hope in your own life. And then one of the things that I know in learning is that you can't do it on your own. And as much as we like to think we can learn on our own, learning takes place best and deepest in community and with other people. And so there's some conversations on hope. So whether that's with your family, a friend, I know Diane and Nancy signed up together, so that would be great for you guys to spend some time on, and then spreading hope, because we live in a world where lots of people need hope. So and I gave you a breather day, so you don't have to feel totally panicked if one day you get overwhelmed and you can't do it or you need a break. There's a breather day for you there. So that is the format, and it's going to be similar following. And so what I like to do is just open it up now for a conversation from you. I've been doing a lot of talking, but I'd just like to hear from you, like anything about what I sent you today, and any questions you have or thoughts. I know that I mentioned that you might have some recommendations. Maybe you've read a great book on one of these topics. I think Robbie dropped off the call, but in our book club, we studied the Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu. And the Dalai Lama is a great book on joy. And so I'll be drawing on some of the resources in that book. But if you want to, if joy really speaks to you and you want to learn more about it, that's one that I recommend. So let's hear from you now.
I have a question, Sandy, and I'm sorry if I missed it because I was late. Sorry, I was late. When I think of the word Advent, I don't know very much about it in the religious context. I know about it more as a consumer of, seeing Advent calendars, and you go to the store and there's all these chocolates for every day of the Advent. It just seems very off of probably what it was intended to be. Can you speak to the Advent calendar and how that can be used as a tool in a way that you find to be more grounding?
Eating chocolate's always grounding, so right off the top, I think you can't go wrong with chocolate. But so Advent is really a time of waiting. If I'm remembering quickly or correctly, that's where it came from, is this idea of waiting for the Messiah, waiting for in the Christian tradition, it was the waiting for the birth of Jesus, and it was a time of preparation for that. And so I think those calendars can be are taken from that idea. So my daughter creates she is not a religious at all, but somehow, I think her upbringing has played out into her thinking, and she does an Advent calendar with her kids, but she makes it, and every day is an activity. So sometimes they make cookies for a neighbor, or they do different things. So I think that's one way to use like that kind of 25, 24 days, is to do your own. Oh my gosh, I once wrote a blog post on Advent calendars, and you can get an Advent calendar for everything from Lego to skin products, nail polish, hair products. Like, it is, let's just say it's been commercialized as, like, I can't believe when, I'm not going to tell you, when I was back in the day, I used to have a little calendar that you opened up and there was a picture. That was your Advent calendar. Yeah. And that was exciting. And does that answer your question? Yeah, that's just my thoughts. You can make it your own. Any other questions or thoughts on Advent? Or even your own experience? Sarah?
Yeah. It's funny, I'm a little bit also, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking also about what you were asking about the gap as well. And early on, when we had young children, I would say that Christmas was always like, I grew up always celebrating Advent on the Sundays, lighting the Advent calendar. I grew up in a more of a European German tradition for that. And same in our house, there was somebody invited for dinner, and it was a bit calmer leading up to Christmas. And I find it so, it's almost like I need an Advent for December. Like, I need Advent to start earlier so that I can, every year I feel like I'm caught off guard that December arrived, or that I have these, I'm trying to figure out what that feeling of gap feels like. Like, I have it, but I can't pinpoint exactly what a gap is, and that I have these wants of quiet and reflection, and it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't seem to happen. And maybe that is in that tradition or that transition place of, when my kids were little, I could curate things in a different way, and I have teenagers now, and I can't, I was having the discussion with my goodness, we were just talking about all of this stuff this morning, and my son would like Christmas to be like, he doesn't want to do any of the decorating or any of the things. My daughter does. My son would just like to show up and participate or just have a big old long standing Monopoly game that lasts forever. And that doesn't even seem like, that feels like hell to me. So how it's now, as there's these competing people, I think someone was talking about the changing of traditions, the changing of things. So you kind of want some ritual, and yet they also change as everybody's changing and having different desires for I feel like that's a bit of the gap, is how do I make something meaningful for myself that can be inclusive, but also isn't only dependent on the other people as well, that takes my own moments of quiet as well as sharing bits and pieces of these, and then not to mention the competition of the consumption of absolutely everything that you said, whether it's drink and food, and I feel exhausted even before I get into December at the anticipation of so much consumption. So anyway,
Thank you. So that's exactly what I was thinking, why I put this together, to give us that focus during Advent, so that you've already kind of set that intention that you want that. And this week you will take some time and do some reflection and, tell your kids you're on a course. They're used to that. And you're doing your coursework now. So thank you, Sarah. Diane.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
What I've heard from a couple of people has really resonated with me about traditions and changes, and what what I struggle with are the weight of expectations, and the weight of expectations of others, sometimes on me, and putting it together. And when I'm ready for a change in tradition, and I'm ready to let go of a lot of the things that have we've done for Christmas, but I still find that those expectations are weighing me down, and that's one of the reasons I signed up for the course, was maybe to work through dealing with those, with others' expectations of me and of Christmas.
Yeah. So, yeah, Helen, you want to speak?
Yeah, I literally, as you started that, Diane, I had written down expectations. But I think, yes, it's partly others' expectations of me, but it's my own expectations of myself. And that's the big gap. It's like, I expect myself to have it all together, even though I never do. Every year, I still expect myself to have it together. I expect myself to also not get sucked into it, and I do. And I expect myself to know better than this. I still don't. And so I think it's my own expectations of myself and how I deal with Christmas is also a big piece in this. And yes, and navigating changes, navigating massive changes, and the expectations within that.
Great.
Yeah. I think sometimes it takes courage to make change. And I've always done a Christmas shopping day with my sister. So we've done it forever, where we go and we either go into Toronto or we go somewhere and we spend this entire day and we eat and we drink and we shop and we have a great time. But it's a lot, like it's a full day. And it's a full day and it's a high energy day. And I was so proud of my sister's 7 years younger than me. And I was so proud of her this year, because she said to me on Wednesday, we were supposed to go Friday, and she reached out to me and she said, I think we need a new tradition. She said, I feel like this is a lot, and I'm not sure I'm up for it, or that it's going to be as much fun as it used to be. And she said, can we just leave it and do something? We're going to go for a hike in between Christmas and New Year's instead. And I was like, thank you. Like, because sometimes we're doing things because we think the other person is expecting it, and they're just greatly relieved when we pull the plug and say, no, we're not doing it. So I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe someone's waiting for someone to say, no, we're not doing that this year. Sarah.
My other question is how to, I wonder about the balance of not seeming like the Scrooge, or like, as everybody's feasting, I'm like, actually, I'm fasting right now, or how to not feel like the one that maybe that's my all or nothing also personality that would be like, I don't want any of it until then, or it has to go my way or the highway. Like, what is the balance of still finding joy with other people in the way that they are also experiencing this time, while not, what is that? There's a bit of tension there, I think, of wanting solitude, and also a lot of people are also, around in our lives, want to be a part of the lots of gifts or the giving or the eating and all of that too.
I'm going to open that up and see what, if somebody else has some thoughts on that one.
Maybe it's about, some of it is about respect for one another, and finding space to respect the different ways that everybody celebrates this time and participates in this time. And I kind of feel like respect and also flexibility, because I think that, we're all saying that things change. Like this Christmas is very different from my last Christmas, for many reasons. And so what people would expect of me last Christmas may be different this Christmas, and what I expected myself last Christmas is definitely different to this Christmas. So it's respecting that, that each year changes us, and maybe we need to also respect that with the people who are around us.
Mm. Yeah, Beth. You have to unmute, yeah.
All right. Yeah, sorry I was late. I fell asleep. And anyway, I think it's also about honoring ourselves and showing other people that we are experiencing something different this year, and that it's okay to honor those traditions in their way, but you want to do it in a different way, and that you need to honor yourself as well. So we can't always make it all about the other people, and we also can't make it always all about us. There is, as you said, there is that balance. But if we don't truly state what our needs are and what are, there's no way for them to know or to respect what it is that we need. So I think we need to be clear about who we are and what our needs are for this year, and honor those needs, and find a way of also participating in whatever way we feel we can with the others' dreams and desires as well, so that there is that balance of conversation. And sometimes it's in the conversation that solutions present themselves that we didn't even think about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
That's a really, really good point. I've been trying to scale back Christmas for a couple of years and trying to scale it back, and to have that conversation with family and friends, is, it's not easy. I don't want to come across as being cheap, but I really do need and want to scale back the stress of the shopping and the stress of the running around. And yeah, you're right. That conversations are critical. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of so many thoughts going on. So if it comes out kind of muddled, you'll have to forgive me. So I guess the whole idea of hope, I guess the power of hope is it's something that's essential for life. Like without hope, we shrivel. And so Sandy, when you were talking about the all of the things going on in the world and all of the weight and the heaviness and then the Christian tradition of, you know, waiting and longing for someone to come and fix it, you know, I personally am in this kind of liminal space also where I focused my Advent on an institution that kind of carried me through it. And now I'm trying to find my way and feeling like I'm in this liminal space. And I think the whole idea, the word liminal space just keeps coming to me as I sit and listen and think about Advent and hope. Because what we're trying to do is be intentional about the disconnect, as you said, from where we are and where we want to be. And sometimes it feels so big for me that I feel almost like just throwing up my hands, you know, is like, oh, it's too far apart. You know, you talked about active hope and Joanna Macy and the great turning being the catalyst for changing what we can do. And I think that as we move into this time of Advent, to embrace the what we can do without judgment is probably one of the best ways forward, because I think I find myself just so, yeah, as I said already, overwhelmed by what is, and then just feeling like checking out. I'm gonna just check out. And so to keep that sense of self-compassion for where you're at, wherever that is, and whatever you can do in this moment. And this exercise for me is such a gift because I am in that space between being immersed in a tradition that felt like it fit and no longer really does. And I'm not sure what that means. So this is such a gift of focus on, there's comfort in the tradition of thinking about it and ritual, but a gift to just really lean into what is it that we hope for, and for ourselves, for our families, for the big picture, the world, the environment, like all of the things that kind of, so yeah, just to live in that liminal space with a sense of self-compassion, I think is what is making me feel like I can step forward without throwing up my hands.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Nancy. I was just thinking as you were all talking that it's sometimes very small things. And we have in the past given to UNICEF, you know, for certain people. And my husband suggested we offer that to the 10-year-old in our family this year. You know, we give him a goat or something. And I hadn't even thought about a child receiving that, but what a difference that might make in his life. And even my 29-year-old and 30-something-year-old grandsons, I think we'll do that this year. Just a small thing, but something more meaningful than, you know, going out and trying to figure out what they want or need and not being able to afford what they want or need. Yeah, this helped me with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sandy, I appreciate this so much. I think one of the challenges for me is I keep hearing two words, let go. And all you other ladies have said, expectations, tradition, you know, and I find that almost in competition with myself when I was 50 years younger in what I thought all the traditions should be. And then you go through, well, the disappointment that everybody chooses their own life, and they aren't all your traditions after all. They're making their own. So I'm looking at hope with learning to let go. And that's going to bring me a lot of peace to just not feel responsible for any more than letting go and doing what is right at this time for me. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for that wisdom. Anyone else? You know, we've talked a little bit about some of the barriers. I wonder, we have a few minutes left, if somebody or if anybody's thinking about a practice they have that's really helped them. You know, sometimes we focus a little bit on the things that aren't working, but what's maybe something that really has helped I know in 4 weeks you'll be saying this course, but before that, maybe there's something else that's been really helpful. Jean.
Yes, and I just read about this in a book called From Ego to Soul, and she suggested this transition meditation that I've been practicing. The entrance to this development where I live, there's a creek that I walk over, and this bridge, and she suggests to stand at one side, and as you look at the water moving away from you, think about all of the things that you want to let go of. Maybe these would be some of the things that we've mentioned here today, but you know, the things that are we're done with, and to maybe even throw a leaf in the water and watch it just kind of trickle down and away from you. And then I go for my walk, and when I come back in, I go to the other side of the bridge, and I think about the things that I want to bring in to my life. And it's just been lovely. I've really enjoyed it. And I I was standing at the bridge the other day watching the sun, the light of the sun come down, flowing towards me in the water, the reflection in the water. And my neighbor drove past and he says, "Don't jump." But I found it to be a very simple, but really appreciate that that image. And I've spoken.
Thank you.
You've heard. Thank you, Jean. That's a beautiful image.
Mhm. Lacey wrote gratitude, especially writing the things I'm grateful for down. Yes. Yeah. Mhm. Anyone else before I close? Beth.
Well, I'm in the process of moving, so I've got boxes everywhere. So, and my place is surrounded by evidence of change and letting go. And so for me this year, having an altar, a small altar with a candle and a little note to myself reminding me of staying present in the moment and just being grateful. And I will add the messages of hope this week. It just gives me that focus, that place that I can, my eyes, and it's in a central space, so I don't everywhere I go, I see it. Doesn't matter where I'm sitting in the room, I see it. And it just that one simple symbol that I am grateful to have that space, that one space that's representative of whatever it is that I'm hopeful for and what it is that I'm letting go of. It becomes my tradition. It becomes my new tradition where I have that altar, and then I can transform that altar into a new altar for the following Christmas. But for me, it's the Advent altar now that really helps me to stay grounded and focused and reminds me that I am part of a tradition and also creating new traditions.
Thank you. I really like that. It feels like I'm gonna wrap up because I know everybody's got things that they've planned for after this call, but I like that as a metaphor, Beth, of kind of this trying to create this little space right now in the midst of everything. And an altar can be a very a good metaphor for that, and just a good place to kind of look at and to really remind ourselves of what we're trying to do at this time. So thank you for sharing that. You'll be getting an email every week from me, but I imagine that I'll be checking in about something else. I've really appreciated this conversation, and the things that I want to suggest to you is to just get out your calendar as soon as you get off the phone, and at least block out once in the week, even if it's just 10 minutes. But if you can't do every day, but just to put some time apart, because what we focus on is what grows in our life. So if you want to focus on hope, you're going to find that that it grows and expands in your life, or peace or love or joy. So just make that time and commitment to yourself, and to focus on these great virtues and I'm excited. Like, I just look at these little seeds. I think each one of you, like, you're taking a little bit of hope into your life and into someone else's life, and how that can just grow, and how much we need that to grow in our world. So I'm just like so excited, and I hope you'll like email me or text me or whatever and let me know how it's going. And thank you so much for being here. And I just appreciate each one of you. You're from all different, some of you I don't even really know, but I know that you get my newsletter or whatever, and I feel like we have a connection. And some of you